out. And good morning, Coldwell Banker George Realty. As you probably know, this is Coldwell Banker George Realty Friday trainings. Today, we're going to be talking about purchase agreements and counter offers. So we probably will go a little faster on the purchase agreement to allow some time on the counter offer. And remember that I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving any legal advice. I am just a manager at Coldwell Banker George Realty. And we're using this as a training purposes for the benefit of all the agents of our company. And I know Lee, good morning, Ms. Hudson. It's just a pleasure to have you as an observer. So I hope you learned something. Doug told me that you were coming to the class, so I'm gonna be on my best behavior, okay? So nice to meet you. All righty, what I do is I'm gonna go and share my screen. So let me just put this because sometimes I don't. I gotta be putting this instead of on view. There we go. And I am going to go to share my screen and go to blank screen, Zoom club meeting, share. And I'm going to go to where I go. This is, you have two ways to go. And remember, the explanation that I always do to you is that we have, as a members of the California Association of Realtors, we have access to zip form, right? And zip form, gotta go to California Association of Realtors, and then you go to zip form. Or you can go directly to zip form plus, and then once you sign in with your username and password, when you go with your username and password, you can go into the Coldwell Banker broker version. Okay, so what we do is we go to www.zipformplus.com, zipformplus.com. Once we go there and we land on the opening page, we go ahead and put our credentials, which is always your first name and dot, and then your last name. And the password was whatever password you selected. If for any reason you're having trouble getting into here, just shoot me an email, call me, and then I'll reset it for you. It is very easy. I have so many passwords that I forget. If for any reason you're having trouble not seeing my screen, let me know. Let me shrink this over here. And what we do here is we land at the Coldwell Banker transaction. Do not go to templates here. You feel free to click on every one of these tabs and you will learn how to do it. You could also learn by clicking on all of these tabs. If you click on partners and you go there or help, you'll be taken away from the broker version and it bring you back to the California Association of Realtors website. So you have to re-sign up every time you go in here. So what I'm gonna do the following is I'm gonna create a new transaction. Always gonna create a new transaction. If you just wanna see forms, these are the forms of CAR, right? View the forms, and it's a long laundry list. I mean, this is the entire supermarket of forms, many forms. And agents can say, what do I, which form do I use to write up an offer? Which form do I use for this? And how come there is so many? And because the California Association of Realtors lawyers, they got nothing better to do than create forms. And they do create and review forms every April and every December. So by January, we will have new forms or updated forms. And of course, keep an eye on the emails that the manager send out to you so we can tell you what's new on the forms. In this case now, I'm just gonna go back and I'm supposed to clear out of here and go back to my desktop. Transactions. So I'm gonna create a new transaction. It's gonna be a new purchase offer. So you go here, you have choices of new listing, new purchase, new leases. I am gonna click on the new purchase. I have to name the transaction. My idea is always to put an address. I don't use the name of the client. Even if you're writing an offer for Bob Smith, I'm gonna be writing an offer at, let's say 1611 South Garfield, right? in the city of Alhambra. Always, I check my transactions by the address, because that way I remember either the offer gets accepted or it gets rejected. If I put the name of the buyer and I write up an offer with that name and then I get rejected, and then I'm going to create a second transaction and I put the same name of the buyer, then I get confused. So if I put an address, then I know that this one was rejected and then I got a new transaction. This is going to be a residential transaction, so I check on the residential. If your screen looks a little bit different than mine, but it's about the same, so it's going to be a transaction. I don't follow much on this status. I always keep it active because my transactions are always active. I don't keep pending or prospects or inactive transactions. I just delete them. But if you want to come back over here, and if your transaction fall out of escrow, you can come back and name it fell through. I am the agent on the transaction. And then this is the most important thing. When you see my templates, do not forget here, my templates, you click over here, and this is what I'm talking about. This is the Coldwell Banker George Realty restaurant. That means you can go to this menu, and we're looking for a residential purchase. So what we're going to be doing is going for the Coldwell Banker residential purchase. Income purchase? No. It got to be just a residential purchase. This one, oh, this is the one I like. So I apply that template to my transaction. Now, the template is like when you go to a Mexican restaurant or a Chinese restaurant or an Indian restaurant, it has all the choices, you know, all the food that there is there, but maybe I want to eat fish instead of chicken. So they're going to have all the chicken in one section, then they're going to have the meat. So you need to know your transaction, what kind of menu you're going to be using, right? So I'm going to put save the transaction. Now it's going to be creating a transaction. It's going to go get all the forms from my library that we already have pre-selected. You know, it's going to apply my transactions. And then the way I'm going to do here is I am going to go with my, instead of the summary of my transaction, I'm going to go to people. Who is in my transaction? So right now, I don't have escrow. I don't have disclosure company. I don't have home warranty companies. I'm going to be on the buyer side. So I'm going to put buyer side. On the buyer side, I only have me. Right now, it's me and nobody else. So I'm going to verify that all my information is correct. The more information that I put in here, the more information that is going to populate to my transaction. So I'm going to go and verify that my information is here. And I am the selling agent's broker. I'm going to put my name, of course. I'm going to put my email, you know. The more information I filled in here, I mean, if I want to have a photo, I can have a photo on my file. The agent ID will be your license. Then license is the same as agent ID. Okay, and then I work for Coldwell Banker George Realty, Coldwell Banker George Realty license. If you wanted to have the broker name, I mean, and have Peter Cam and have Peter's email, we don't do that. This is the office phone number. If you wanted to put your private number, you certainly can do here and put your phone number, my business number or my cell phone number, right? 757-5550. Feel free to call if you need me. And then I am going to save this information, okay? Once I save this information, who else will be on my transaction? Okay, so I'm gonna go to buyer number one. And you know that my favorite buyer is Betty. Betty, last name is Betty Buyer. And Betty has an email, you know, I don't know which one is Betty at cbgr.com. By the way, that website doesn't exist. And I'm gonna put Betty's phone number, 626-123-4567. And then if she has a cell phone, I'll put it in here. I will put her address. She lives at 1234 Main Street. And then she's in the city of Alhambra. Okay, Alhambra. County of Los Angeles. All this information is going to populate over there, the zip code. And then um, uh, I am going to, explain this part to you. Whenever you're doing signing on behalf of a corporation, when you of an entity, you do have to put the name of the entity here. So on here, you are going to be putting ABC Corporation. And then over here, you're going to be putting the name of the person that is going to be actually signing all the contracts, okay? We'll revisit that when we're signing by representative. So we save the information for Betty, and we move to the next tab, documents. Remember, all the documents were already preloaded. They are all here. And doesn't mean that I'm gonna use them all in this transaction, but this is my menu, okay? So I'm gonna be picking documents from here to see if it applies to my transaction. So the number one is the cover sheet. The cover sheet is where the information is going to be. So buyer's information, we don't have a seller's information unless you inputted the MLS to your transaction, then the seller's information will be here. And then it will have information about the property. If you have the MLS number, the MLS number should have been here. And then you do an MLS import, and it will bring the majority of information. I don't like to put seller's choice on the escrow, right? I like to put the escrow, my preferred escrow, either Moy Escrow, Central Escrow, Friendly Escrows to Coldwell Banker. The escrow number, I don't have it. So all that information I don't have yet. If you do have that information, for the address, 1138 Garfield, if you have the city, she's in Alhambra. If you have all that information, you can auto-populate it, and it will be moved from here to your transaction. Your transaction cover is going to have the broker information, which is us, Coldwell Banker George Realty, broker's license there, my name, my license, my phone numbers, my email, and then I don't have a lender. Later on, I can come back to this form and complete my information, right? Complete who's the seller, so that way if you happen to go to Hawaii, you will go to Hawaii and fill in that information later on, and open up your laptop, and you can do business from anywhere in the world as long as you have Wi-Fi and you have internet access. Okay, so then I'm going back to the next form, right? This one, it says, use this form to share commission with other agents. So if for any reason you are sharing a commission, you're partnering up with somebody else, you come back over here, besides filling out all that information, who's the buyer, but we don't know who the escrow company is yet. We don't know, but we know that Susan Aragon from Arcadia office is splitting the selling with me. We are working for the same buyer. So I'm going to put Susan Aragon, Arcadia, 50% of the selling. I'm going to get Susan to sign over here, put the date. Then I'm going to put Cesar Aviles, 50%, sign over here and date. This is enough information for us to share the commission and as an internal document. We don't need no big contract. All you need to do to tell Jenny, to tell Tuhan, I'm sharing the commission with another agent in the office. Now, for those of you, if you go to a Mike Ferry seminar and we're doing a rebate of the training, you just click over here and you say, hey, give me my money from Mike Ferry. If you are a brand new agent, a Coldwell Banker, and we gave you money back from your real estate school, if you happen to go to Addie Schools, we will click over here and we'll give you the amount of money that comes your way. So this is the information that we're going to need for that. Okay. Again, we're going to be going through all the forms, right? California Residential Purchase Agreement, Coldwell Banker Addendum, we're going to use it. For your protection, get a home inspection. This one is for FHA buyers only, okay? Buyer's inspection waiver. This one is in the event that the buyer says, no, I don't need an inspection. Then you make them sign this, and it goes with the offer. Statewide buyer's advisory goes with the offer. Market condition advisory goes with the offer. So all of that documents that we're going to be doing, you need to send to the listing agent. The listing agent presents your offer, gets all those papers signed and sent to you. Okay. So I'm going to go to the residential purchase agreement. Remember what I always explain to you, that the residential, whoops, sorry. I want to make it big so everybody can see it. So the purchase agreement, I always tell you, is the tree. Just like the listing agreement is the tree, the contract. And then we put more branches or we cut branches depending on our transaction. So the disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship that we filled in is buyer's broker to the buyer. We need to do this. It is required by civil code. Every place you see civil code requirement is the law. Cannot go away from the law. So you have to follow. Okay? And I just want to point something out to you, that always use the latest form. So you're always going to be looking at revise, when the form was revised. So please don't use old forms. Most of you, if you're using a earthquake form from 2005, that's old. Earthquake forms were revised in 2020, so you better be using 2020. If you wrote an offer and the listing agent sent you an old one, let them know that they're using an old one and that you please want the new one to be filled in. Always. You can look at the bottom of the form. Right here is the revision time, you know, AD revised December of 18, okay? So this is a disclosure. It is not a contractual. You just got to let the buyers and the sellers know which side of the aisle are you in. As a seller's agent, these are your duties. As a buyer's agent, this one's your duty. Okay, let me tell you, if you are working with an agent from the same company, we all work for 3 branches: Coldwell Banker George Realty Arcadia, Coldwell Banker George Realty Alhambra, Coldwell Banker George Realty Puente Hills. If we're writing an offer, we will become dual agents. So we will be representing both the buyers and the seller. And we owe both a fiduciary duty, utmost care, integrity, honesty, loyalty in dealing with the sellers and the buyers. Okay, so make sure that you follow the law and you stay yourself honest. And then you owe other duties to the sellers and the buyers as stated above. So you owe all of these duties to them, right? So don't cheat, be straight. The truth will set you free, always, 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 always. So you give this documentation, Betty will sign it over here, Betty will date it. Make sure that the dates are written. If you have a document without a date, it's useless, okay? Sometimes we look the other way. We don't want to make a big issue with you guys, but we want to protect you most of the time, okay? We don't want to give you hassle. Don't take it upon fighting with the transaction coordinators when they're looking for a document that needs to be signed, needs to be in the file. It is for your protection, not for ours, okay? Now, in case that you want to read the whole civil code, this is the law of agency, right? The law of agency is the civil code, and you guys, if you have nothing better to do tonight, read it. I mean, you are licensed by the state of California. You're supposed to follow the rules that are written in here with the buyers and the sellers, okay? So that will be page number 2 of the disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship. Let me go back. The next document in our menu will be, oh, sorry, I needed to go there. I just got to continue going down. I am sorry. So the next document that comes along when we look for the purchase agreement is the Fair Housing and Discrimination Advisory. All I have to say to you is to do not discriminate against race, color, ancestry, national origin, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, medical condition, disability, source of income, familial status, marital status, citizenship, primary language, immigration status, military veteran status, age, criminal history, any arbitrary characteristics, okay? So the only thing you need to know and ask the people is, do you have money? Do you have cash? And have you been pre-qualified with a lender? And if they haven't been pre-qualified with a lender, you go there and only make sure that they have green money, American money. Money has to be in the United States to be verifiable. If you get a letter from a Bank of China, Bank of the Bahamas, Bank of Brazil, make sure that that money can legally come into the United States. And you're not the one telling them how to bring the money over here, okay? The California Department of Real Estate requires that you get training, right? So don't get discrimination a chance, okay? Never discriminate. So the buyers are gonna be signing this form. Make sure that Betty signs a form and they date it, right? The third form that goes with your purchase agreement is the possibility that we are representing more than one buyer or more than one seller. Just because we are a big company with over 350 agents, there is a possibility that somebody is working on that listing. You know, Doug Meyer could be writing an offer and I could be writing an offer and we showing the same property. So just because of that, we need to ask permission, and it says consent. We ask permission that we could be dual agent, right? Dual agency. So we get the buyers or our sellers also to sign this form. And we send this form with the offer to get the other agent to sign it, return to us, so it becomes part of our file, okay? This form goes with all the offers. The next form that comes along, okay, is the fact that we are in a Los Angeles County. Just as we have homeless in LA County, we have crooks in LA County. And they are, or in Russia or in China or in, you know, Brazil or whatever, there are people always looking to do fraud. And so this is electronic fraud, computer fraud. So whenever you're sending money by wire, you need to tell the buyers and the sellers just to be very careful about it. So this is a form that we real estate agents give to them. But look at it, this is an advisory, okay? It is not a contractual document, it's just an advisory. The way that I explain advisory is like grandma telling you, don't touch a stove, you're gonna get burned. When you go out at night, make sure that you wear your sweater, you're gonna catch a cold. You know, those are advisories. You know, don't talk to strangers. Make sure you're home early. Those are advisories. Well, this is an advisory, okay, that we tell the buyers and the seller, be concerned with your money whenever you're sending wires. And if they have any more questions, they can always contact the FBI. Right there is the phone number. For those of you that need to call the FBI today for any reason, you can call 310-477-6565. That's the FBI. Or you can go to websites and find out more about wire funds, okay? The buyers is, we send this information with the offer, and then the seller will have to sign it and send it back to us so we can complete our files, all righty? So if you have any questions, we're gonna review all these forms. At the end, if you have any questions, let me know, okay? So we have the agency, then we have the fair housing, then we have the consent to represent more than one buyer, possibility. Then we have the wire fraud, electronic fraud transfer money. And then we end up coming back to our beautiful California residential purchase agreement, right? These ones are escrow instructions as well. When you are using the broker version, our logos are gonna be printed in all our forms, okay? So, you know, that may give others the idea that whenever you're being represented by Coldwell Banker, you're represented by a trained professional. So over here, we're gonna start filling out the form. I'm gonna go quick on the form. The day that we prepare the form, today, we're gonna write up an offer. Betty Buyer is gonna be making an offer of 1611 Garfield in Alhambra. This is the zip code. The assessor's parcel number, where do I get that from? You get it from Realist or you get it from the MLS. And so I believe that is 1234-001-010, whatever, that's the assessor parcel number that we got from the MLS. The purchase price supposed to be written down here, but they make it very easy. So we are going to be buying this property for $985,000, right? $985,000, right? So $985,000 will be written over here. I want the close of escrow to be And this is to put a date, a calendar date. Very seldom I recommend that you use this because you're thinking, okay, it's November 6th. We want to close escrow by December 6th, right? We want to close escrow by the 11th. And we don't know if we're going to be able to do that. So the best way that I tell people, don't use the calendar. You come over here, you uncheck there, and then you click this one, and I wanted to put close of escrow. And close of escrow is not up to Caesar. It is not up to you. It's up to the buyer and the buyer's lender to tell you. So, sometimes you have an easy buyer. They work for the post office, they work for the bank, they get one checking account, one credit account, one W-2. Very easy. You can close in no time. Sometimes you get a buyer that it has a corporation. The wife has a side job, 2 jobs. They have to verify employment. They have 4 checking account, 3 savings account, IRA, stock account. So this might take a little longer to close an escrow. So you might use 35 days to close escrow. And what happened is that you're telling them, I'm going to need 35 days after the acceptance. So the acceptance day, it becomes day number 0. Tomorrow, day number 1. Okay, that's how you do it. If you accept an offer today, that's day number 0. Tomorrow, start counting number 1, and then successively. All right. So I'm going to put 35 days to close escrow. Confirmation of agency. Guys, this is so important. Some of you forget to do this. A lot of you forget to do this. So over here, let's say we're going to be doing business with ABC, Realty. ABC Realty has a license number of whatever, 888, let's give them a big number, 141, whatever. And then they are the seller's broker. And then over here, make sure that you use the agent. I don't know who the agent is, so we're going to put agent seller. And agent seller has a license. Make sure that you put the license, if you leave this blank, your contract is voidable. That means invalid. So make sure that the other company is the listing company, the seller's company, and we are the buyer's company, right? Then over here, it says potentially competing buyers and sellers. The parties are acknowledged. They have received possible representation, more than one buyer and seller disclosure. So the X is already, the box is already X, and we are having that form already done ahead of time. Financing, right? Financing. If you are going to be buying all cash, look what happened. You click on the all cash, boom, and all my financing, I cannot check FHA, I cannot check VA, I cannot check anything here. So when I do an all cash offer, let's say I take it out, then now I am going to do a loan, then I have loan information to fill in here. Okay, that's how these forms are up. Now the initial deposit, it's usually 3% of the purchase price. Why? Because 3% is the maximum that a seller can take away from the buyer. Okay, so we have gotten used to putting 3%. So the offer was about $1 million, 3%, it'll be like $35,000. Right, we're gonna open escrow with $35,000. We are going, and that could be a cashier's check. Okay, that could be a personal check that the buyer is gonna take to escrow. That could be gold, right? I don't know. You can take gold to escrow if they take it. I don't know. I guess that's what they have the other. You could always say within 3 business days after the acceptance, the buyer will deliver the deposit directly to escrow by electronic funds. They're going to send an electronic fund. They're going to send a wire. They're going to send an ACH, whatever they want to do it, or they're going to do it by cashier's check, personal check, or other. By my recommendation to you, don't touch the money. Do not touch the buyer's deposit. They make the buyer take it directly to them. Okay. So we are going to have, our contract is going to be, we're not checking the boxes. The buyer will deliver the deposit by electronic money upon 3 days after the acceptance. Okay, so they have 3 days to give it in there. Okay, or we don't use number 2. We don't get the money. Buyer deposit is with the agent. Never, never, never. Coldwell Banker policy, not to touch the money. Okay, so please don't take the money. We don't use the B, increased deposit. Okay, if you use this increased deposit, it's like they don't have the $35,000 today. They need to make a transfer from their savings to their checking, and then they're going to move money. If they put money here, the problem is that you need another form, and we don't like the forms. Look at it. You need another CAR form, RID, right? This one, RID. I don't like the form, so I'm only telling you, put the deposit to open escrow, then you're gonna go to the loans. We're gonna get a first loan on, and let's say we're gonna borrow $450,000, okay? So if we're gonna borrow 450, the computer is gonna make we have 35, this is part of our down payment, and then we're gonna put another $500,000 when we're gonna go close escrow to offer our 985. And then we need to fill in this. Is this gonna be an FHA loan? No. Is it gonna be a VA loan? No. Is it gonna be seller financing? No, so we don't check there. Are we gonna be assuming financing? No, so we don't check it, right? And we said this loan shall be fixed rate. And we say not to exceed, and we can put 3.5%, right? We need to put here a cap. Interest rate will not go higher than. We're gonna mute somebody that is on the phone, so let me just go back to small this. Okay, so you have to put an amount where the loan is not going to go higher than. Doesn't mean that the buyer's gonna get 3.5, the buyer can get 3, 2.5, whatever. I even saw something at 1.99%. I don't know, those rocket loans. So, or if you're going on an adjustable loan, which these days are unheard of, you would have to click here, put an adjustable loan, and then rate not to exceed, 1% or whatever is the adjustable floor, the bottom, right? So in our case, we're gonna do it 3.5%. It is not gonna be adjustable. It's gonna be a fixed rate, and buyer's points not to exceed 1%. I wanna make sure that even if I go 0% on the points, I wanna make sure that I can put a cap. You need to protect your buyer, okay? So here, no second loan. So we're buying the property, we open escrow with 35,000, we're gonna borrow 450, we're gonna put an additional 500 when we close the escrow. Or if you need to go like 90% over here, you're gonna be putting, close to $800,000. Let's put 750,000, right? On the loan, it's gonna make an adjustment, 200 down payment, 235 the down payment, okay? We'll leave it like that. On page number 2, verification of the down payment. The verification is attached already, right? So that means a letter, if you say that the verification is attached, you need to attach it when you send in the offer, the proof of fund, proof of money. Caesar don't like to send proof of money anyway. So what I do is I do like this, and I put within 1 day, I will send that verification to the listing agent, right? Now it's pre-printed, the X already here, because we send it into the listing agent. Most listing agents want to have it. I just want to fight with the listing agent. I just want to see what kind of listing agent is, make changes. Now, appraisal is a contingency of this transaction. I know that today's market, very competitive, and some of the listing agents are asking you to remove the contingency. Please do not remove that contingency with first-time buyers. First-time buyers may not understand what that means. They're putting their deposit already almost on a non-refundable situation, okay? Because if the appraisal come low, they still have to buy the property at a higher price. I mean, they need to put more down payment into the transaction. In the event that this is not subject to appraisal, then you check the box. but most of the time you're not supposed to. Now, appraisal contingency, you say, I'll remove it within 15 days, right? You can say that. I'll remove the appraisal contingency 20 days. It's up to you, up to the buyer, up to your lender. Remember, ask the lender, when are you going to send the appraisal? Now, in my opinion, you should not work with a loan agent that does not order the appraisal immediately. Who cares? The buyer have to spend money. They have to put a skin on the game. So I will say, hey, appraisal contingency to be removed within 12 days. Okay. I want a fast escrow, so I'm going to put it shorter. And I'm going to, okay. So whoever is talking, mute yourself. Okay. So the loan terms, within 3 days after the acceptance, the buyer will deliver a pre-approval letter. Most of the time, the letter will be attached. Okay, so it's already checked in here. Loan contingency removal within 21 days, or if I wanted to have a longer time, right, within 30 days after the acceptance, I can change that. Okay, I mean, if I were more smart and I wanted to see if the seller's agent is at the wheel, remember our escrow time is 35 days. I would say within 30 days after the acceptance, the buyer will remove the contingency, the loan contingency. Nothing wrong with doing this. The only thing is that the listing agent will probably give you a counter offer that says within 5 days, right? They want to remove contingency within 10 days. But that will be on the counter offer. So in the time being, I'm going to say 30 days to remove contingency. We'll use that on the counter offer. If for any reason you're writing an offer with somebody that says, I don't care, I got the cash, my grandma has the money in case I don't apply for the loan, then I can put no loan contingency. Okay. But remember, you guys have to go in with the truth. If you put no loan contingency and you're still planning on a loan, you are lying. You're telling the seller something wrong here. Okay, so make sure that you do not misrepresent your offers. Don't say I'm putting $500,000 down payment if you don't intend to do so. You have to have that money, and don't go for like 30% down and then go with a 3% loan. You cannot be doing that. That is misrepresenting your offer. Okay, right here, buyer stated financing, because the seller is relying on the buyer's representation. Okay, and that could be construed as, false statements. Now we have all boxes to check. If you check any of these boxes, there is a new form that you need to attach to your contract, right? This is not a backup offer. Whenever somebody tells you this is a backup offer, then you need to have a backup offer paper. If you don't have a backup offer paper, don't do that, okay? So septic tank, some properties are located on a septic tank area, then make sure that you attach the form to your offer. If you are doing a short sale, then make sure that the SSA form is attached to your contract. If this is a probate, when somebody has passed away and they forgot to leave a trust, then you gotta go to probate. If it is a trust, make sure that it's a trust advisory. If this is a short sale, make sure that you have the short sale form. If this has an addendum, make sure that you click here and you put addendum number 1. If you need to be court confirmation, you need to click here. See, we have no way of knowing what type of property you're making an offer in. So this one is information that you need to know and fill in according to what you're making an offer. I always recommend that you click on the statewide buyers and sellers advisory, because you want to make sure that the buyers understand what they're getting into. Statewide buyers and sellers advisors should be a mandatory form at the time of writing the offer, and you give a copy to the buyer so they can read it. If this is an REO, click on the REO, right? And you will have it. Other terms, if you're buying for yourself, you can say buyer is a California real estate agent, right? Right, so you do that. Make sure that you disclose that. Or if you are buying with your son, your daughter, your daughter-in-law, whatever, you say buyer is related
Già, io-
to agent, right? Make sure that those things, and it's arm's length. So you need to disclose that you are related if it's your brother, your brother-in-law, your mother, your son-in-law, your adopted children. That has to be done, and you need to tell the other party that you license is related to the buyer. If it's a cousin from, way out there, no need to, okay? Now, if you are writing an offer on behalf of a corporation, you must disclose that a member of that corporation is your brother or your sister or your mother or your father, okay? That's also goes with it. Now, here's the most important thing about who pays for what. Either the buyer pays or the seller pays, or both. So on this case, you can put that the buyer is going to pay or the seller is going to pay. So we ask the seller to pay for a natural hazard disclosure, and we pick the company. We want First American Natural Hazard Disclosure to be the company. I don't know about you, but I always want the company that has all the money in case there is problems, okay? I don't want to use a very small company. I also want the seller to pay for the following report, right? I want the seller to pay for a pest control report.
già.
Okay, I want the seller to pay for a and by the way, the first American, I want him to come with an environmental, right? And sometimes if I'm in a Melrose area, maybe I want here and I want to put tax, right? Tax disclosures. I want to make sure that when I ask something, that the seller paid the information for my client. All right. Here I can put that the buyer is going to pay for a home inspection. Okay. And you could also have the buyer pay for a termite inspection, right? And then once you get both reports, then you do a request for repairs. So don't be just copying this. Think about what you're doing. Most of the cases, the seller will pay for a pest control report. I know that some people say pest control report and clearance. The problem is that this language may not be all of it, because if it needs fumigation, it becomes very cumbersome. You need to get the repairs on a request for repairs, and there's proper language on the request for repair paperwork. Here, we want the seller to pay for smoke detector and the water heater bracing, right? And we want the seller to give us a written statement. That means smoke detector and water heater statement, which, by the way, there is no need for an additional document. That written statement, it's already on the revised copy of the transfer disclosure statement, okay? Here, we want the seller to pay for the cost of compliance with any mandatory government inspections. So if you're in the city of El Monte, we want the seller to pay for the inspection. In Pasadena, we want the seller to pay for the inspection. In San Marino, we want the agent to pay for the inspection. In Alhambra, there is no city inspection. In Los Angeles, there is inspection. So get familiar in the areas that you're selling if the property needs to have an inspection before the sale, okay? But anyway, it says if any. In the event that there isn't any, no inspection required, then nobody pays, right? Over here, we're asking the seller pay for the cost of compliance with mandatory government retrofitting. Retrofitting, like for example, in the city of Santa Barbara, they have a lot of problem with water. They want to make sure that the plumbing fixtures are changed in Santa Barbara. The toilets are reduced water. So there is retrofitting that needs to be done. Like in the city of Los Angeles, they want the seller to retrofit the gas meters, make sure that they have a earthquake shut-off valve. That's when you put that the seller to pay, right? And it also says with any. In the event that there is no mandatory government, then nobody pays nothing. Now it says here, buyers shall be provided with a copy of any government inspections, okay? So you need to give the report in a timely manner. If the buyer gets that report very late, the buyer may still have cancellation rights. So watch out for those things. Here, who pays, right? So we said escrow pays. I mean, buyer pays and seller pays escrow fee. I've seen it written in many ways. Each shall pay their own fees. Sometimes they put 50-50. I've seen some people writing each to pay their own. I've seen each their own, okay? Customary share. That's something that I like. I learned the other day. Customary. It is the custom in the county of Los Angeles that the seller pay for these or notaries and things of that nature. But escrow holder shall be. Remember when I did it on my form, I put more escrow. You're welcome to put all of these ones, right? Banana escrow, right? You can put central escrow. I don't like to put seller's choice of escrow. I don't like it. Because when I am writing the offer, I want to protect my buyer. So I want to go with the companies that I know that they are friendly companies to me. Now, the parties have 5 days after the receipt, sign and return escrow general provisions, right? Make sure that after you open escrow, within 5 days, you call the escrow office and you say, has the other party signed their escrow instructions? Have I signed escrow instructions? 5 days, 1 week, you should have the escrow people sign everything in the escrow, okay? A lot of agents are not doing it. A lot of escrow companies are lazy escrow companies and they don't do that until the end. Don't let that happen to your transaction, okay? Over here, we want the seller to pay for the title insurance that protects the buyer, owner's title policy. Now, in the event, and then we want the company that we like, right? So you can pick any company that you want. You can put, First American, you can put WFG, you can put, and some of the times you want to put Fidelity and put Nicole Menard, and you want to put lawyer's title and want to put Nancy. You can put anyone you want, okay? Make sure that they are independent title companies, right? Buyer shall pay for any title insurance that is requested by the lender, right? The seller doesn't have to pay that. Your lender is the one requesting, so then you pay for that portion of that title insurance, okay? Now, seller usually in Los Angeles County pay the county transfer tax. Alhambra doesn't have a city transfer, but in the event that you're making an offer on a city, you could always put seller shall pay city transfer fee, if any, right? If any, that would be something to do. Seller shall pay for homeowners association, right? Or transfer fee if you're writing on a condo. Seller shall pay for the homeowners association if you're in a condo. If there are private transfer fees, seller shall pay, and you could always put if any, right? If you do not know, you could always write that in there, okay? I know that in the property that we're buying in Alhambra doesn't have any, so I leave in blank. I don't want the listing agent to know that I do not know how to write up an offer. So I know that in Alhambra, so I want the seller to pay for county transfer tax. There is no homeowners association. There is no private transfer fees in Alhambra. But I might want to say, hey, seller shall pay for a, sanitizing of the house, COVID-19, COVID-19 sanitizing. I don't know, that's part of my contract, right? So it's up to you if you want to do that. I wouldn't trust them to do it. They might just spray a little Clorox in on the house. Seller shall pay for anything that you want the seller shall pay. You can just write it in here, right? Now, I do want the seller to pay for the home warranty, and I can put not to exceed $650, Make sure that you talk to your favorite home warranty company. You can change any company you want, Old Republic, American Home Shield, Home Warranty of America, whatever it is. I like to have First American. That's just happened to be my choice, but you can write whatever you want in it. And if the house has air conditioning, make sure that the air conditioning box is checked. If it has a pool and spa, make sure that the pool and spa is checked. I always want First American because I like their roof coverage, right? And I'm going to put roof. And it's not that they're going to fix, it's not that they're going to fix the roof, right? Or the appliances. they usually will have a maximum of $1,000. So if there is a problem with the roof, I say, hey, I gave you a home warranty. It wasn't leaking when we bought it. Here's $1,000 for you to put in a new roof or whatever. So I like to protect myself, and I want the seller to pay for it. So I want the seller to pay not to exceed $750. If it's cheaper, or if they want to negotiate that, it's negotiable. Now, in the event that your buyer is going to demolish the house as an investor and they don't want home warranty, they click over here and it will say buyer waive the purchase of home warranty. Okay, make sure that this either somebody pays for it or they waive it. If one of these boxes is not checked, guess who's paying? You, okay, from your commission. So don't do that. All righty. Now, what's included on the sale? The buyers are agreeing to sell things inside the house. Plumbing, fixtures, anything electrical, mechanical is attached to the property, goes with the property. If you want the seller to leave the stove, make sure that you check the box. If you want the seller to leave the refrigerator, make sure that you check the refrigerator box. If you don't check it and the seller takes it with them, then you're buying a brand new stove. I guarantee you that it's going to happen, okay? If you want the washer and the dryer, make sure that you put it in there, right? If not, you're buying a brand new washer and a brand new, if you don't want it because it's all greasy, I don't want the stove, I don't want the refrigerator because it stink, don't put it in there. But if your buyer wants it, I want my buyer to have the old refrigerator, the old stove, and the old washer and dryer, right? If anything is lease or it has a lien right now, solar systems may have a lien, okay? So make sure that you get the proper documentation. If you are going to exclude any items, make sure that those items are written down here, okay? Type them in there, okay? If you are having all the flat screen TVs on a house included, you leave them in there and leave the brackets. But if not, take the TV, and since the bracket is attached, leave it there unless you want it to be removed and patch the holes. It will not be painted. They'll take their bracket, click the boxes. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Now this, on number 9, I get the biggest problem, right? A lot of people would not fill in this correctly. If the property is occupied by the buyer and they're gonna move in, make sure that you do not check the box and it says the buyer intend to occupy the property as my primary residence. And I want the house, I want the keys of the house. Possession means that I want the keys of the house to be delivered to the buyer at 6 p.m. on the day of close of escrow. That's the number one choice. The old days, we used to know it was 3 days. I don't know what reason. People were very friendly. People didn't sue. People didn't go and make insurance claims. Back then, it was very easy. Today, everybody's fighting with everybody. Half of the world is one side. The other half of the world is the other side. And so now they want us to no later than 3 calendar days. So give me the house no later than 3 calendar days after the close of escrow. No charge, no nothing. I'm a buyer and I don't care if the seller, once they get their money, they go and rent their U-Haul truck and they move out of the house. But today's buyers are very difficult buyers and they want the seller to move out at close of escrow. The problem sometimes is that we don't know the exact day of the close of escrow because the loan is delaying or the loan is ready to fund and the seller doesn't know, so the seller haven't made all this plan. But anyway, you could always say, give me the house at, 11 p.m. And you give me the house at 11 p.m. on, and you pick the day. I mean, December 20, you say December 25th, it's a Christmas present. I want the house to be delivered to me. And you want Santa to give it to you. Okay, so you can put the date, right? You can do anything you want as long as the buyer and the seller agree to this. It is not Caesar's choice. It is not your choice. It's the buyer's choice. When do they want the house? And then the seller's choice, when do they want to give the house to the buyer? It will be a negotiable item, okay? So in my purchase, I want the property to be no later than 2 days, okay? And I don't charge for the 2 days. I am generous. If the seller is going to stay in the house for less than 30 days. You fill out the form, seller in possession. If you click over here, then you get a new form. If there's gonna be for more than 30 days, the seller's gonna rent back 3 months because they're waiting for the ship to come in to take them to England. Okay, so then you're gonna put a new form, real estate lease agreement. So there's gonna be a lease agreement where the seller becomes the tenant and the buyer becomes the landlord. Okay, make sure that you complete that. If the property is occupied by tenants, you want to make sure that the property is vacant at least 5 days, or you can say at least 3 days prior to the close of escrow. Or if you wanted the house to be vacant 10 days, because I want to have the buyer to inspect that house. I don't know, whatever days you want, you can put it in there, right? Usually I want the property to be vacant at least 5 days before the close of escrow so we can do a nice walkthrough, okay? And they put a note to the seller, if you're unable to deliver the property vacant in accordance with the rent control and other applicable laws, you may be in a breach of this statement, this agreement. Now, you could also have the tenant to stay on the property. I'm an investor, I'm buying the house, and the tenant is there. I don't care, I want to continue the lease. Or I am buying an old house in Arcadia, it's occupied by tenants. I'm thinking I'm gonna demolish the house eventually and build my dream home so I can leave the tenant there, get some money while I'll go to the city and get all my permits to demolish. And then I'm gonna give my notices to the tenant and evict them, okay? So, but there is a new form there that came into the thing. Now here, guys, I want you to understand that there are statutories. Remember what I told you, when it's a statute, it's the law. So you need to have the seller deliver all of them. Seller shall within the time give the buyer the lead, give the buyer the SPQ, give the buyer the AVID, all of that information. So when I get an agent telling me, Caesar, the listing agent doesn't give me the papers, the listing agent doesn't give me the disclosure, all you need to do is come over here and say, hey, stupid listing agent, read the contract and you're supposed to give me the papers in a timely manner. You got to be strong. You got to be a good selling agent. If you're going to represent the buyer, don't roll over for the listing agent. It's a buyer and seller, 50-50, this agreement. Just like a marriage, right? You're going to divorce, you have to, 50-50, same thing. Of course, I understand that there's buyer's market and seller's market, but the buyer has rights and you're representing the buyer, then write the offer defending the buyer and do that, really defend the buyer. And if you're the listing agent, like I used to be a listing agent, I will defend my seller. Always following the law, always making sure that you're fair and honest and diligent on what you're doing, okay? So on the contract, there's all kinds of things, natural, environmental. So we're gonna give them all that form. We're gonna give them the seismic hazard zone. So that's the environmental flood, all of that information that comes in on the disclosures. You're gonna give them to them. You're gonna give them the earthquake guides. That's the earthquake book. All the questionnaires, earthquake questionnaire, environmental hazard booklet. We're gonna give that to the buyer. Fire hazard zones. All of that, it's written in the agreement. Why do we have to do this? Because it's part of the agreement. It is written. Whatever is written, we have to follow. Buyer's team follow the buyer's instruction. Seller's team follows the seller's instruction, okay? If this is a condominium, the seller within 7 days or less, sometimes within 5 days, shall deliver to the buyer the SPQ telling them, hey, this is a condominium, and then it's gonna get a disclosure, CCNRs, all that information gotta be given to the buyer. If the property is a condominium, right? Seller has 3 days after the acceptance to ask the homeowners association to get copies of all the CCNR, all the documentation, all the disclosures, so I can give them to the buyers in a timely manner. Condition of the property. This is when I laugh when somebody tells you, oh, I want the house to be sold in its as-is condition. You as the buyer already put in there, look at it. the property is sold in its present physical condition, as is. Buyer is buying the house as is. Now, yes, the buyer has the right to inspect, and then the buyer has the right to ask, but the seller has the right to answer. And if the seller says no repairs, that's it. Too bad, so sad. Then the buyer choose, I buy without repairs, or I walk away from the transaction. Simple, straightforward, black and white. Make sure that your buyers understand what they're getting into, and make sure what the sellers understand what they're getting into. Okay? It's a negotiation. The agent that knows these forms, the better has the chances of putting more transactions together. Right? Here, the buyer has the right to inspect the property. Look at it, investigation rights. Even the buyer has the right to bring their own priest, their own monk, their own feng shui master. They can bring an architect, they can bring an engineer, they can bring their grandma, they can bring anybody they want within the specified time, within the time specified in paragraph 14B. They only have 17 days to do that. Bring somebody to the house and change their mind, right? Seller, make the property available to the buyer. The seller has to let the property open. The seller has to have the utilities on, right? But when you're having anybody go to the house, they are, the buyer is relieving the seller from indemnifying the seller. So that's why you need to use people that have insurance.
今日下晝啊，而家仲揾緊你啊，成日喺度改變主意啊，衰仔。
Hold on a second.
我而家等緊佢，佢話下晝5點左右。
Sorry. When you're in, please mute yourself. Okay, so title investing. We don't give vesting information, but they gotta receive a preliminary title report, right? And they gotta read it and approve it. Buyer has to do that. Talk to your title rep to give you one of those little booklets, how to explain it. Very easy. You know, First American has one that tells you point by point what to read on a preliminary title report. And you can give it to the buyer. Give the booklet to the buyer so they can read it together. You don't have to be the one explaining it to them, okay? At close of escrow, the buyer will receive a grant deed conveying title. If there is any water stocks, they get all that other stuff in at the close of escrow. They will be getting a California Land Title Association or an American Land Title Association policy of insurance. So everything that happens here. Okay, please keep the noise down. Okay, time period. So here's what the seller has 7 days and the buyer has 17 days to read over, to receive all the information, to request repairs. And these are the form, request for repairs. And then here is the response to the request for repairs, right? So there is a negotiation between the buyers and the sellers with the request for repairs. And there's also a removal of contingency removals, right? So you need to send a document. Why? It's written on the contract, so you need to follow the contract. If you follow the contract, you have no problem. Very easy to follow the contract. So my recommendation tonight, instead of watching the TV, who's gonna win the elections, you can put an hour of reading the contract and you'll be a better real estate agent. Doesn't matter who wins, who loses. Real estate people are gonna buy house, people are gonna sell house. You know, people are gonna get married, people are gonna, you know, move from Taiwan to Los Angeles area. You know, they might get afraid that China's gonna take it over. Who cares about that? You are a listing agent, you're a selling agent, we make money that way. No matter what happened, there's always gonna be a buyer's market or a seller's market. You are in the middle, taking care of both of them. Commission in the middle. Right here, if you were to write an offer with removing all contingencies, I don't advise for you to check this, okay? So you leave it blank. You know, buyer remove the contingencies. Do not click here and send because it says here, look at it. Buyer is acting against the advice of the broker. We are not telling them remove contingencies at the present time. Seller's right to cancel. The seller has the right to cancel this transaction if the buyer does not remove the contingencies, right? And these are the obligations. You have to give him a notice. You have to give him, notice to buyer to perform. All of that information is right here, okay? Notice to buyer or seller to perform. You have 2 days, right? After the delivery to give, you have to give those notices. Please perform. And if they don't perform, then you give them a cancellation, okay? What happened when you give the buyer's removal of contingencies? Right there is the information. If the buyer removes the contingencies in writing, right, then and they are giving away their cancellation rights, so they cannot cancel anymore. Close of escrow. Before the buyer seller may cancel this agreement for failure of the other party to close the escrow, you have to give them a notice that says, DCE, demand to close escrow. Okay, and you're giving them 3 days, or you give them 5 days to close escrow. You cannot just cancel the contract like that. You have to give notice before you can cancel. What happened to the deposit? Well, the information is right there. Okay, if the buyer or the seller gives written notice of cancellation, what happened to the money? You can find the money in escrow. You gotta get a lawyer. You gotta get something, to make sure that the money goes to escrow if they don't agree to give it to them. I have a case. It's going on almost 7 years since we opened escrow. The money is still in escrow. Buyer sue the seller sue the buyer. The buyer answer back. They went to small claim court. They did it wrong. So the judge throw the case out. So then they went to small claim court and they sue the escrow. Well, the escrow is not at fault. So every time they do something like that, the escrow is active and they need to wait for 3 years before they can send the money to the government. But since they're doing things, then the escrow still have the money. I still remember the transaction is a file in my cabinet because we haven't closed the transaction. We haven't canceled the transaction. There's cancellations from both parties and we haven't been able to give the deposit back. So it's a big fight. So be careful make sure that when you're going into a transaction that you have the heart to close, okay? Final verification of condition. This one is the walkthrough. You have 5 days before the close of escrow to check on the property. The repairs, you have to go check on those repairs that you requested. Proration of property taxes. The escrow is gonna read this and they're gonna do what they have to do to close the transaction. Now we're gonna get paid. There we go, right? The seller and the buyer, or both, agreed to pay the commission to the broker as specified in a separate agreement. That's why it's so important that if we are going to get paid, the listing agent has a valid listing, and then we belong to the MLS, and we are getting a cooperation broker compensation, okay? In the past, I used to tell people, don't get at the co-op broker compensation, COP. Now, starting 2021, I'm gonna make sure that document, it's a mandatory document in all our transactions because we're having trouble on commissions, okay? So make sure that document comes along. The cooperating broker compensation, CBC, will be a mandatory in 2021. So watch out for that. Okay, this one talks about our duties. Read it. This is the duties of the buyers and this is duties of the sellers, and the broker does not decide. The broker does not decide what price anybody should pay, does not guarantee the performance of the escrow. We don't guarantee the performance of the escrow company. We don't, the termite company, all the services, all the products, we don't guarantee them. They're different companies and we're not responsible, okay? We are not responsible for identifying, look at this one. We're not responsible for looking the boundaries of the property. Where's my property line? It's not up to me to know where's the property line. Right there, right there, right there, right there. And the title company give you a legal description. If you want to know physically, you have to hire a proper professional, a surveyor. And they go with those, little things. They put a tripod and then they put a little nail on the corner. And sometimes, and that is only valid for what? 1 day because we have an earthquake and it moves? Who knows? Representative capacity. If somebody's acting on behalf of a corporation, or if somebody's acting on behalf of a trust, they're going to be signing another document called representative capacity documentation. This becomes joint escrow instructions to the escrow company. That's why the escrow reads the contract, make sure that all initials are signed here, seller's initial, buyers have initial every page, because the escrow company has to do paragraphs 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. They read it and they follow those instructions from the buyers and from the sellers based on the contract or the counter offer. What happened if we breach the contract? If we break the contract, this is what happened, right? Liquidated damage clause. We signed here and we said, in the event that the buyer failed to cross escrow, buyer is giving the deposit to the seller. That's what they're saying here, right? And the seller cannot sue the buyer for more money, okay? So if you initial here, make sure that the contract is initial here. I have a lot of transaction where the buyer initial and the seller doesn't. If you are missing an initial here, your contract is not a contract, okay? So make sure that both initials are there or both of them are blank. And if somebody signs and the other person doesn't want it to initial, counter offer, say delete the initials on 21B, all right? If you have a fight, this is how you're gonna fight. They give you the rules. You're gonna mediate. Or if you are not going to mediate and you're gonna arbitrate, then you're gonna arbitrate. And these are the arbitration rules. And here are the initial. The buyer agreed to arbitrate, the sellers agreed to arbitrate. And then they go to arbitration of disputes. So whenever they have a fight, they have a civil code of civil procedures. You can go read it and it tells you exactly what to do, right? You hire an arbitrator, you tell them you have a fight, you show them a copy of the contract, you tell what the other party wants to do or what the party doesn't want to do. And then if there is an arbitration award, then it's legal, okay? Very seldom you get into these events, but it happens, okay? In the event, okay, this is for when there are transactions that are not, there are exclusions. Of course, if this is a trust, if it's a judicial, I mean, some of the judicial or non-judicial foreclosures, if you are a trust, some of these transactions may not be arbitrated, okay? They have to be blank, no arbitration, and they have to go to court to do it, okay? Brokers shall not be obligated or compelled to mediate or arbitrate. So they cannot, just because they are arbitrating, we don't have to go to their arbitration, okay? Selection of services, buyers select their own services, their own escrow, their own title company. Don't get on a fight just because you want to go to your own escrow company or your friendly escrow company or your lender escrow company. Let the buyers and the sellers discuss that. We are getting permission that publish the information on the MLS. So when the property sells, we need to report the selling price, attorney's fee, whoever wins a case. If they use attorneys are entitled to reasonable fees, okay? We shall not assign these agreements, okay? Assignments, like I am the one buying and then I sell my contract to somebody else. Doesn't look good. Equal housing opportunity, again, we don't discriminate. Time is of the essence. We need to close a transaction on a timely manner. That's why we have so many days to do this, so many days to do that, so many days to close. And then they give you a definitions, what to do on a definition of everything, CAR forms, copy, what days. So they explain what those items mean. So the buyers and the sellers understand what we're talking about. Sometimes we don't talk to the client. We talk to the client as if they already know our lingo. I mean, I laugh sometimes when COE and FLD and DU, and people don't understand what we're talking about. Make sure that you use close of escrow, notice to buyer to perform. You use those names and explain to people what you're talking about. I want you to give me the CR. What is a CR? I didn't know the other day. And it's like contingency removal. I mean, I sometimes laugh that agents will use some of those ABC, XYZ, and I don't even know what they meant. okay? If you don't know what they meant, call them and say, what do you mean by ABC on the contract, or remove your, remove the CR or whatever. So make sure that you ask them. Once the buyer writes up an offer, they sign over here. They put a time. This is good for 3 days, okay? Third day, 3 days. Your offer is only good for 3 days unless you extend it by putting a date over here. Buyer signs, and then if the seller likes it, the seller sign here. If the seller doesn't like your offer, he's gonna click here, still sign. That means that I am accepting 90% of your offer, but I will be writing you a counter offer that I'm gonna write today. I'm gonna give you a counter offer. Make sure that this is checked, and make sure that there is a day here so I can go and read the counter offer on that day, right? So I am gonna give you a counter offer. So the seller is gonna sign, the seller is gonna sign, and usually you should receive the entire form back, already initialed by the seller, and a counter offer. But there's a lot of lazy real estate agents out there. You're supposed to receive the entire contract signed with this check there, with a day of the counter offer from the seller's counter offer number 1, okay? Once the sellers, if they don't give you, right, if they don't give you no counter offer, and the seller signs it, right there and then, you have a contract. Now, for courtesy, we send it in, and we would like to have the initials over here to say, hey, I received the acceptance, okay? We have received this acceptance, and I confirm that I have received a copy back to me. But it is not necessary to form a contract, okay? It will be nice if we have these initials once we help in escrow, but it's not mandatory, all right? Now, this is a box. It's outside the contract. This is just pertain to the listing agent and the buyer's broker. Make sure that ABC Realty put the agent's name, they put a date, and they sign it. Make sure that the signature is here, otherwise you don't get paid. Make sure that your signature is here, because you're telling them, I am the cooperating broker. I gonna get paid. Pay money. If you don't get the signatures, they say, well, we didn't sign there, we don't pay you. And then if the escrow, once you take it to the escrow needs to sign this box also, that they receive a deposit and that they are gonna be the escrow officer. In the event that you get your offer rejected, make sure that they send you this rejected, the seller's initial and the date, and make sure that the agent's initial and what day they presented the offer, okay? I wish these boxes will be on page 1, so that way the seller will see the price. Sometimes some sneaky listing agents will get a form signed there that they don't want it, and then you don't know if they really saw your offer. It's a shame that we have such real estate people in our community, but unfortunately, they are those type of listing agents, okay? Greedy, that don't want the best for everybody concerned, okay? Then the next document that we need to do is the buyer's inspection advisory. Again, we tell the buyer, you have the right to inspect the property, and the buyer signs over here. And today, starting on December of 2019, we need to give this form to the buyers. This is as of January of 2020. The California Consumer Privacy Act advisory is just another advisory. Most people don't understand it. Make sure that the buyer signs it. You need to read it, what it entails, okay? It is section 1798 of the business, the law, civil code, 1798 100 to 1798 140, whatever. You need to read that. Please make sure that you protect your buyer's information. Do not share information. Do not share social security numbers. Do not share their addresses. You're supposed to keep it confidential. That's what this form is all about. Okay, I am going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go for any questions. I know I have 21 people sign up to the training. I appreciate everybody, but I like to see everybody talking. So if you have any questions, if I went too fast, if you don't understand something, that means that, you know, this is not easy documentation, guys. I don't take it very lightly. That's why we explain it over and over and over again. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a new agent, an experienced agent. We all have questions, concern, doubts. How do I fill in the information? We all make mistakes. We forget.
Caesar.
Yes, Coti.
Question. If the buyer or seller, they don't sign the arbitration or mediation, is that okay?
Well, if one person doesn't, the
Okay.
other person, it has to be both blanks or both initial, or you have to write up a counter offer.
Oh. So we have to write up, like, for example, if the buyer signs it,
Then the seller either has to initial to agree to arbitrate, or you need to write up a counter offer saying buyer to this transaction does not the arbitration clause have to be, you know, deleted and it needs to be changed.
okay.
Otherwise, the buyer think that they're going to arbitrate in an event and then the seller did an initial. So that part doesn't go. You need to have a meeting of the mind to have a contract.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else has a question? So everybody has to write up an offer this weekend and make a sale. And so that way Doug and Peter and myself, we will be so happy and so thrilled that you guys are writing an offer. By the way, if you guys want to write up an offer, just like a fake offer, like the one I'm writing, and you want to email it to me and say, Caesar, I wrote this offer. What do you think? Send it to Lori, send it to Doug. We're delighted. We'll take a look at it and send it back to you with corrections or no corrections. Remember, every offer, it's different than the next one. Don't just make one and copy everything. Your buyer may need 30 days. Your buyer may need 20 days. Your buyer, it's a husband and a wife. Your buyer is putting 20% down. Your buyer is putting 10% down. Your buyer is buying cash. It's an investor. They don't need financing. The other buyer wants financing. I mean, there are so many ways to write up an offer, and there's so many ways to write up a counter offer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to sharing the screen, and then I'm going to go back to a counter offer. So you guys see a counter offer, and you also go see a request for repairs, which is going to be a document that we are going to be looking. I mean, it's we still have about 20, 30 minutes, but if you have questions, please let me know so I can help you in the area that you need a little help, okay? So let me go and share my screen again. This is my
screen. I have a question.
Yes.
I still try to see where do you, when you go to cformplus.com, how do you access the core banker
Okay. I'm gonna walk you through two things, okay? I am going to go, if you see my screen right now, I have the purchase contract, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go to a clean internet. So I'm going to the internet right now, right? Can you see everything? Everybody can see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to www.car.org. When I go to the California Association of Realtors website, I land on this page. Can everybody see the page that I landed, right?
Yes.
Now, look at this one, transactions, zip form. If I click over here, transactions, okay, I need to put my California Association of Realtors username and password. So I'm gonna put it 214-000-282. And then I'm gonna put my password. Sometimes I forget. And if I sign in here, looks exactly the same. Did you see this?
Right. So far
okay.
It's the same.
And I go to continue here. I will land in zip form CAR version. You see how many transactions I have here? You see this? This is something else. It looks exactly the same, okay? But just take a look at it. I do have a transaction over here, right, with a little picture. So now I am gonna get out of here. I'm gonna sign out.
Sister, maybe you have to move to different screen. Right
Oh,
now,
you did?
right now,
Okay.
see, thank you for using Lone Wolf.
Yes, this is zip form. Thank you for using Lone Wolf transaction zip form. I am going to get out of here, right? Now I'm gonna go to another location. Can you see this? I'm gonna go to www.zipform+. Okay, when I go to zipform plus, it looks exactly the same. But when I sign here, I need to use Cesar Dataviles at Cesar Dataviles, and then my password. When I sign here, it looks exactly the same. Oh. This part looks exactly the same. It is, but did you see my desktop? How does it look? I have my transaction on Garfield. Did I lose you?
No, I see it.
Okay, remember, when I go here, it looks the same. I go to CAR, right? So if I go to the transaction center, it's gonna look here, then I'm gonna go to zip form, this one, I think, right? Standard? No, hold it. Let me go back to the here. If I click over here on my CAR, can you see this part, right?
Yes.
If I click here, automatically take me to Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf is just the company that runs the zip form. And then I gotta say, go to the transactions. Are you see where I'm going?
Yes.
It looks exactly the same, but I have different transactions. These transactions over here do not mix with my other transactions. If I go here, you see this one's Garfield. Can you see or no?
Yes.
Can you see my top tabs?
Yes, I do.
These ones are CAR transactions. These ones are Coldwell Banker version. It's the same engine, but they're two different rooms. And they do not mix.
Where do you go to a Core Banker template?
Oh, when I go to Coldwell Banker templates, I'm gonna go and create a new transaction. I'm gonna create the new transaction on my side. And then over here, when I see select my templates, that's where they are.
Okay. Okay.
You have to be on this zip form, right? Which is the one that I signed up.
Zipform Plus.
www.zipformplus.com.
Yes.
So if I go to CAR directly, I go to this one's. I'll show you. I'm gonna sign into this one, right? It's gonna validate that I'm a member. And when I go here and I create a new transaction, I'll show you what my templates look like here, right? So if I go to this side and I go to create a new transaction, it's gonna be a new purchase, right?
Right.
And when I click to the new purchase, what happened? A little slow. Over here, look at my templates.
I don't see it.
They're my personal templates. I created back in 2015, so don't pay attention to that one, okay?
Right, on this one, we don't have the Core Banker template in here.
Exactly, you don't have the Coldwell Banker.
Right. So I have to go to Zipform Plus.
Exactly. You got it. I am glad that somebody asked me that question, so I was able to explain that there are two doors to the engine. One through CAR. If you go through CAR, your membership, username and password to CAR, you will end up at the CAR zip form. No problem. You can use them. It's up to you, but you are on your own. I cannot help you there. Got it?
Yes.
When you go to transaction pro zip form, then we have a whole bunch of templates over here that we could help you. You create
Yes.
a
So I have a problem of signing in to the beginning of the thing, so I need to fix it.
Okay. Who are you, so I know who I'm talking to?
This is Kale.
Oh, Kale. Okay, got it, Kale. So, Kale, if you go to, let me, I'm gonna get out of there. So if I were to go to you, let me get it back completely. I am going to go to my administration. Okay, so this is, you guys don't have this, but I'm gonna go to admin. I'm gonna go to users. I'm gonna look for you. Are you watching the screen?
Yes.
So I'm gonna go for KO, right?
Yes.
KO does not have access. Why? How come your manager no good? So KO,
that's what I need to fix.
okay. So KO, what you're gonna be doing is I'm in a class. Oh my God. KO, I am going to be adding you as a new person. Okay.
Okay.
So first name is KO. Now your last name is crazy. So give it to me.
P like Paul.
P
H
H
OUA
OUA
SA
SA
LIT.
LIT. Fusalit.
Yes. Yes.
Now your username is gonna be KAO dot PHOUSA
UA.
huh?
OUA.
OUA. There we go.
Yes.
LIT. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Yep.
your email address is
P like Paul.
P like Paul,
KAO
KAO
M
M
G like George.
T
G like George.
What am I missing?
G as golden
Oh, G as in golden
at Yahoo.
at Yahoo.
Oh no, I'm sorry. At Gmail. I don't know why I'm saying that.
Okay, no
At
problem.
Gmail.
At gmail.com, right?
Yes, sir.
All righty. So
The username it has to be first name, last name.
that's what we want.
Something else?
That's what we chose. No. The company choose to use, so that way I know who's who.
Everybody uniform.
Everybody uniform, first dot last name. So I'm gonna go next. Look at this one. Oh, you work in Arcadia, so I assign you to the Arcadia office, right? I put next.
Yes.
Then you have access to CAR, you have access to finance, you have sample letters, you have CRMLS, you have publications, you have foreclosure, you have open house signs, right? Next.
Yes.
Then you are access to MLS Connect. You will have access to digital signature. You have access to offer place, which I don't even know what is offer place, and I do not see for mobile edition. So you can use it on your cell phone or your tablet, okay?
Okay.
Then you have you can create compliant, override enforcement. You can delete your documents, save, and it says you have been created. PKOM, oh my God, at gmail.com will be getting an email with a link. And then once you get the link, then you create your password, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Oh my goodness, I am sorry that you were left out in left field. You blame it on Leanne, you blame it on Leanne, and you blame it on Doug.
No problem.
All righty. Okay.
Well, thank you for your help, Caesar.
Now we know. So anybody that cannot access Anybody that cannot access the broker version of zip form by using www.zipformplus.com need to get this from you guys. Okay, I will add you. Doug Meyer can add you. You just have to tell him, and he will put you in there. And Lori can also add you if you're from Puente Hills. Okay.
Sounds good.
Any questions? Okay,
Thank you for me.
Oh, that's for you. Thank you, Cal. Good participation. I am going to go again to share my screen, and I'm going to show you a counter offer, right? So I promised you I was going to show you a seller's counter offer. So I'm going to go over the same transactions on Garfield. All of a sudden, I need a counter offer. So I go to the counter offers. If I cannot find it, then I got to type it here. Buyer counter offer. I'm going to use a seller's counter offer first, right? Is it on seller's counter? I don't even remember. My goodness. SCO. Ha. Seller counter offer. Okay. So I'm going to add it to my file. That's how I add it to my file. When I come over here, I know I'm going to find it at the bottom. So the seller got our offer, right? And the seller is going to write a counter offer. It's going to be written today. And so the seller get the counter offer maybe yes tomorrow, right? And this is going to be a counter offer to the purchase agreement, right? That we wrote on November the 6th. So they're identifying which contract are we talking about, on which the property is Garfield and Betty Buyer is the buyer. And then let's say that, you know, Sol Seller is the, you know, is the seller. Then we need to put the name of the buyer and we need to put the name of the seller. That way we can identify the transaction. And then here we put, we want the sales price to be, right? And then right now they're using to be best and final, which I think is stupid, but that's what people do. You're supposed to put what price you want. You know, if you're a seller and you think that the market is hot, you can just put, hey, price to be this much. And if the buyer comes up to that price, sell it. But I know that they're using sales price to be best and final. And then they always use 2. And they said, no repairs. Right? And then they're going to says 3, inspection time to be 5 days, whatever, right? They're writing, and then they're gonna put seller choice of services. Then they're gonna put delete. I don't know, I'm just gonna put something 11C, right? And then they put a little, maybe I. Whatever that paragraph 11, letter C, I of the contract, right? So they send this back to you, right? And this one has an expiration day of 3 days again, 5 p.m. on the 3rd day. Oh, let me put a full screen so you guys can read it, okay? So we create, the seller is gonna write a counter offer to the purchase agreement, the date of the purchase agreement, Betty's the buyer on the property on Garfield, and then they put sales price to be best and finals, no repairs, inspection, whatever they're gonna put, blah, 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 right? So they put blah, 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 okay, on the counter offer. And then they say the following attached addenda is incorporated to this counter. They can put an addendum here and explain crazy things. They can also put here, the seller has to sell their property. Contingency, of selling, right? So they can put it in there because you didn't know that. And so they can put it over here, or they can put here 1031 exchange because this is a business property, whatever they're gonna do. And then this counter offer would expire within 3 business days. And then the seller will sign it here, and then they're gonna send it to you, right? But let's say that here, they're gonna sign it and they're gonna send to you. Once you receive it, right? You get this counter offer, you don't like, you wanna put a new price, so you're gonna do this. Your buyer is gonna accept this offer. So you're accepting 99%, but you do not like, you need to put a new price. So you're going to be putting subject to the counter offer that is attached. And you put a time and you put the date, right? 5 p.m. That's when you're signing this acceptance, and you send it to the other person, right? Now, when you send it to the seller again, you need to go and prepare your counter offer. So we go over here and we go get all the forms again, right? And we're gonna do a buyer's counter offer, right? And so we do this. Okay, buyer's counter offer. So we have a buyer counter offer, and it shouldn't be number 2, so I'm in the wrong one because there is a counter offer already added to the package over here. Buyer counter offer number 1, right? So buyer counter offer number 1, right? Somebody did all this and I need to erase them because I don't like all this. They put so many numbers, you can fix them. All I need to do is the date. Now I got it on Saturday. Now it's Sunday. And the counter offer was dated. See, this is a counter offer to the counter offer that was dated on the 7th. On the property on Garfield, Betty's still my buyer, Saul is the seller. And then here I'm gonna put sales price to be 999,000, right? And then I am going, this offer is good until November the 8th. So I am gonna give him 1 day only. And so I'm gonna say this, you better give me an acceptance by 10 a.m. Let's put 10 a.m., right? 10 a.m. on 11/8. Before you go to church, you better give me this counter offer. So the seller, the buyer is gonna sign over here, and the seller is gonna sign over here if they accept it, right? And then you're gonna confirm it once you get it. So let me put the full screen. I'll put all the 3 forms, okay? So let me go back. I'm gonna go back to our purchase agreement, right? I hope you're staying with me. I'm gonna go all the way to the purchase agreement, and I'm gonna just show you the acceptance on the bottom, right? So I just wanna go, okay, there we go. Page number 9. Page number 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm sorry if I'm getting you a little dizzy. Page number 9, I'm going to page number 9. So the buyer signs over here, and the seller is gonna be doing this. Subject to, I accept the offer, but it will be subject to the counter offer, seller counter offer that I'm dating on November the 7th, right? And then the seller is gonna put November the 7th and sign here. Sole seller is gonna sign over here. So you as a buyer do not sign or initial nothing over here, right? So once you receive this one, you are gonna go to the seller's counter offer, which was the seller's counter offer number 1. The seller gave us this documentation, right? On November the 7th. And it says your best and final price, no repairs, blah, blah, blah. Your buyer accepted everything. Accepted everything except that the price needs to be put somewhere. So you said, I accept, buyer, Betty, accept everything subject to a counter offer that I'm writing, right? I'm accepting everything subject to a counter offer that I'm writing, and that will be my counter offer number 1. So I go back. Then I go to buyer's counter offer number 1. Where was my buyer counter offer number 1? Please bring it here. And then buyer's counter offer dated November the 8th. This is a counter offer to the seller's number 1, right? That was dated on November 10. The people that are involved, and then I put the sales price $9.99, and then I sign it, and then the seller signs it over here, send it back to me. They put the die, they put it 9 a.m., for example. They did it before going to church, and then they put the date. Of course, I don't have a way to do that. And then you receive it, right? The agent receives it, and you call the buyer, says, congratulations, you got a sale. Can you please initial here? Of course, you can do it, buyer's agent, but I don't want you to do it. You want to make sure that the client are the one that can confirm they receive it, okay? And they receive it on, you know, let me see, confirmation, a copy of a was personally received by the buyer, okay, on at the 8th, and they got it at 9:30. Now we got a transaction. Congratulations, we made a sale for $999, and we read it backwards because it will be the price $999, and then we're gonna go to the other counter offer number 2 and pick up the things from counter offer from sellers, from the seller's counter offer. This item, no repair, applies. The inspection was reduced to 5 days. Seller picked up the escrow and the title, and we deleted that agreement from our original purchase. Those things, no repairs will apply. We delete paragraph 11, whatever that is. So when we go back to our offer, to our original purchase offer, right? Where even if you wrote it with all of the requests, we did some changes to the form. All 3 papers, the offer, the seller counter offer number 1, and the buyer counter offer number 1 becomes our sale purchase agreement, complete purchase agreement. Got it? I hope everybody happy. So I'm gonna stop sharing. It's 11:53. Any questions so far? You can unmute yourself, you can talk. You can, let me know what you think, anything that you want me to address. I'll be delighted to help you.
Well, see, this is Clint.
Yes, sir.
At the buyer's counter number 1, when the buyer finalize it, at the end of the contract, the counter offer, does the buyer initial it or the agent initial it?
Okay, so we're talking at the buyer's counter offer, right?
Right, very last part.
So the last one. So I'm gonna go back to that one, okay? So I'm gonna go back to the form. So we're gonna go to the buyer's counter offer. That's your question. Buyer counter offer, right?
At the very end.
At the very end, okay? The buyer sign here, right?
Right.
Put the date.
Right.
The seller signs it, and the seller is happy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Then the buyer initial down here.
Okay.
After you receive it, because the listing agent is gonna send to you.
Right.
And then you're gonna send to the buyer, and you're gonna tell the buyer, yeah, we got it. You're very excited. Make sure that within 3 days you put your money in escrow.
And then you just have the buyer initial and then date it and time it, and that's it.
And yeah, date it here and time it, buyer sign here, and you receive it, send back to you.
Okay.
Now, legally in the state of California, this step doesn't need to happen.
Okay.
Already, when the seller accepts it,
that's done.
And the seller sends it back to you,
right?
It's done.
Okay.
Legally, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But we want to document our file that we communicated that acceptance, and we say, congratulations, you got it. So the confirmation of that acceptance, the buyer initial here, you're excited, it's honeymoon time. Make sure that you write your check to the escrow. tomorrow, the next day, and open escrow. Let's get the lender. Let's get the home inspection company. Let's ask the listing agent to send me all the disclosures. Everybody happy. 90% of all the documents can be signed on the first week, okay? And your paperwork is gonna be in your file. Make sure that you send it to DocuSign. Make sure that you use electronic thing, that you are a modern agent. Don't be a secret agent.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All righty. Any other question?
Cesar, it's me, Oscar. Going back
Yes, sir.
to counter offer, seller counter offer number 1 on 2A.
Seller counter offer. So let me go back to share again, right? And you wanted to go to the Garfield transaction, and I'm going to the counter offer. I go to my documents, and you want me to be to seller's counter offer number 1.
Yes.
Yes.
So on 2A,
Yes.
we don't really have to fill it out then?
No, because it says the seller gave us 3 days. The seller counter offer will be deemed revoked if by 5 p.m. on the 3rd day, you have not returned it to me. Right?
Yes. But you can always, let's say you got the weekend. Let's say you do the counter offer on Friday, like today, but you want to give it till Monday, then you have to change that because the weekend counts, right? As day 1, day 2.
If you wait till Monday, maybe another offer come about and it was bigger and they took it. The seller has the right to accept or reject any offer that comes to him, even if they gave you a counter offer. Do you understand that, right?
Say that again.
Okay, you write an offer. The seller writes a counter and they give you 3 days. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't take all 3 days. You better do it immediately, because let's say tonight at 11 o'clock, Caesar writes an offer for $1 million and the seller gets it. And the seller says, I love it. Cash, 1 million, 5 days to close escrow. The seller accepts my offer, and Oscar is still sleeping on the weekend with the counter offer. You follow me?
Yes.
And then even if you call your buyer and your buyer says, oh, Oscar, I sign it, I accept it. Everything the seller accept, I accept it, right? You don't even write a counter offer. You just accept a counter offer. And you call me on Monday, you call the listing agent on Monday, and you say, listing agent, my buyer signs it and accepts it. And the listing agent is gonna say, you're too late. Friday night at 11 o'clock, Caesar from Coldwell Banker brought me $1 million cash, and the seller took it, and he's already in Brazil. You follow me?
Yes. So
Okay.
then, so it's better to leave it blank, even if you wanna, even you want more than 4 days, more than 3 days. You know, you want 4 or 5. It's best to leave it blank just to be on the safe side.
Unless you are really concerned about this. I'm not concerned about this because I want to act right away. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, if the seller accepts another offer prior to my acceptance, you know what I'm saying? Right there.
Mm-hmm. This
counter offer is expired, or this counter offer is no good if the sellers withdraw. So if I call you and I say, you're sleeping, you're not giving it to the buyer. You don't give it to your buyer until Monday, right?
Yeah.
And I call you Sunday and I say, hey, Oscar, I am withdrawing my counter offer because we receive another offer and I'm going to give you a multiple counter offer now. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Cesar.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, guys, it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to let you go. Have a wonderful weekend. Trust me, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. Next Friday, we'll do another training. We'll talk about not only counter offers and offers, but we might do the request for repairs and how that works with the termites, okay?
Thank you very much,
So can I have
Cesar.
a last question?
Thank you.
Please, Cesar, can I have a last question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I went to and sign up, put a new password and all that. When you open up, it's like brand new, it's blank. It doesn't have transaction, right?
That's correct.
Oh, okay, because this is like a new window.
That
The-
is,
the-
like I show you my transactions from CAR that were like 2015, and then I show you my transactions with the SIP Form Plus with Coldwell Banker that is today, 2020, right?
Right. So the old transactions stay over there.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So this is like a blank now.
correct.
Okay. Thank you, Cesar.
Have a nice one. Happy weekend.